We all know that vitamin D is needed to maintain bone health and strength, mainly because vitamin D helps body to absorb calcium from food and supplement. And also, our body itself makes vitamin D in presence of sunlight. Yet, a significant proportion of the world population suffers with vitamin D, and its deficiency also impacts immune system. That means that makes our body prone to some infections, mainly the respiratory tract infection. And recently, a study in UK has found a correlation between low levels of vitamin D and high number of cases of COVID-19. To discuss this important topic, the importance of vitamin D in the body, we have today with us Dr. Abel Lawrence. He is the professor of immunology and rheumatology at Sanjay Gandhi Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences, Lucknow. Dr. Lawrence, welcome to the show.
Yes, vitamin D is a very interesting vitamin which functions like a hormone. And most of the early attention regarding vitamin D has been with bone health, and therefore endocrinologists have studied it very well, and the recommendations for daily allowance, how much is, all these were based on rickets, its ability to prevent rickets, and the importance in immune system was only noticed much later. See, it's interesting that most the immune cells can actually activate vitamin D. Vitamin D, when as we absorb it, is a pro hormone. It has to be activated by two steps. There is a 25 hydroxylation and there is a 1 alpha hydroxylation, and these two are required to make vitamin D into the active form. Normally, the 25 hydroxylation takes place in the liver and the 1 alpha hydroxylation takes place in the kidney, and this is very well known. This 1 alpha hydroxylation can also be done by lymphocytes and WBCs, macrophages, which when activated. So this shows that why did evolution create that ability? It must be doing something. This is how it became of interest to the immune system. And there is a lot of basic research which also has looked at the role of vitamin D in immune system, whereas the effect in real world has been highly controversial and circumstantial. For example, it has been shown that primary T cell response, when a naive T cell meets an antigen for the first time, the robust immune system response requires vitamin D. And then besides that, vitamin D is also important in production of many antimicrobial peptides. There are some proteins which are formed by WBCs and other cells, skin cell, etc., in response to pathogens which are important in your immune system. For example, there is a protein called cathelicidin. This is produced in skin. This is also produced in monocytes, and this has been shown to be important in protection against tuberculosis and leprosy, mycobacteria. And leprosy actually has evolved mechanisms to partly defeat this. That shows the importance of vitamin D in immune, and for so much so that before the advent of antibiotics, the only treatment that people had for tuberculosis was sunshine. So we had these solariums in old hospitals, and the Britishers in India who developed tuberculosis were sent to areas with bright sunshine. So somehow they noticed that sunlight and vitamin D have something to do with defense against tuberculosis. But considerable interest has been there in vitamin D and respiratory diseases. There have been studies which have shown that people, the vitamin D can protect against influenza, mostly in children, and respiratory tract infections also have been shown to be decreased with vitamin D. But however, there is a lot of heterogeneity. There are many studies which have not shown this effect, and only some studies which have shown. So one of the things which you notice is that vitamin D effect on infections are seen preferentially in people who have deficiency, and among people who take vitamin D, this effect is not seen. So so the relationship between immunity and vitamin D is kind of complicated, and this reflects its relationship in other areas. Besides immune system, vitamin D is also important in cardiovascular health. And you are referring to the study from UK in relation to COVID-19. In that particular study, what they found was that there was more lower vitamin D levels in severe patients of COVID were males. Females were not, the same relationship was not seen in females. It is quite possible that vitamin D supplementation is quite common among females, since females are have osteoporosis, and most doctors and public are aware of vitamin D relation to osteoporosis. It's common to use vitamin D, whereas males are not worried about osteoporosis and bone health, and therefore do not take much supplementation. And another interesting observation from United Kingdom related is that the Asians and people of African origin, basically the minorities who are generally darker skinned in UK, have been dying of vitamin D deficiency. Not vitamin D, they are dying of COVID-19 more than other people, and this is a typical population which is deficient in vitamin D. That does not prove the point this is related to vitamin D, but this is circumstantial. How can we explain the differences between Asians and Britishers in terms of mortality? Another interesting aspect of relation to our people from Indian subcontinent is that we suffer from cardiovascular diseases earlier than the Europeans. The real reasons are not known, and one of the speculated causes is vitamin D. If you look at the relationship of vitamin D with cardiovascular disease, those are severely deficient have increased cardiovascular risk and cardiovascular mortality. Even all-cause mortalities increase. Interestingly, there is a kind of what is called a saddle-shaped curve. Those with very low deficiency, very low levels of vitamin D have increased mortality, increased cardiovascular risk, but it drops down after about 50-60 nanogram. The risk actually increase, although there is like great uncertainty about that. So the relationship with immune system and vitamin D mirrors the relationship between cardiovascular system and vitamin D. And most of the association of cardio is probably related to hypertension. This mortality risk is mainly seen in hypertensive subjects. Those who don't have hypertension, this risk is not clearly seen. And there are also studies which show that obese hypertensive have more problems with vitamin D deficiency. So whether this is a cause of obesity, one problem is that if you are obese, it's a fat soluble vitamin, the vitamin D is diluted in the body fat. So that can cause decrease in vitamin D levels in the blood. And so the cause effect relationships are complicated in vitamin D. And other problem is that the previous accepted recommendations for vitamin D are actually lower than what people believe to be the correct value today. I have to note that there is no consensus on what is the current recommendation for vitamin D. So it is the best guess as of now is that most people will need about 1,000 to 2,000 units per day. This is in contrast to textbooks when we were studying, which said that most people need around 400 international units per day. So this 1,000 to 2,000 is not a settled amount. It's the best guess we have. And if you give around 2,000 units per day average, that is, if you take 60,000 units per month, even that, there will be some people who will still be deficient. So this is a thing under, still being unsettled issue. And the effects of vitamin D go beyond the T cell response and the TB immunity. Vitamin D is also important in mucosal immunity. That is, the WBCs which go to the mucosal tissues, that is our intestines, respiratory tract, etc. They require vitamin D to express the receptors, homing receptors, the receptors which take these cells to these tissues. And this affects mucosal immunity. And it has been shown that the amount of IgA is a type of antibody which is found in these mucosal tissue. That is, they are secreted into our saliva, our intestinal tract, and help us protect against infections in these areas. Indeed, IgA is the most important antibody in our body. In the blood, we may not find much IgA, If you look at gram to gram, the maximum amount of antibody produced is IgA. And the IgL secretion is related to the amount of vitamin D you have, which takes us to think that this vitamin D may have a role in immunity to mucosal infections such as viral respiratory infections, etc. And another thing is that this risk factors of COVID-19 also related to the same, hypertension, obesity, the same things where the vitamin D is playing a role. What is that, a coincidence, or there is something more to it? And interestingly, one of the most surprising developments in COVID-19 has been the association with thrombosis. And patients who die of COVID-19 have increased risk of thrombosis at various tissues. This could be microvascular, macrovascular thrombosis. And we have to note that this is quite similar to the cardiovascular risk. People with cardiovascular disease, they die of thrombosis. So what is this connection? So this is an interesting possibility, and one of the factors which are increase the risk of thrombosis in cardiovascular disease and in COVID-19 is a protein called tissue plasminogen activator inhibitor C1. This is increased by angiotensin 2 and angiotensin 4, which are increased in COVID-19. And vitamin D can help reduce the production of tissue plasminogen TPAI1, that is tissue plasminogen activator inhibitor 1, thrombomodulin, and other proteins which promote thrombosis. So if you have deficiency in vitamin D, we may have a more prothrombotic state. So whether it is but studies still are not there whether the people who are developing these thrombotic states have lower vitamin D.
So you basically mean to say that representation of coronavirus is a little bit similar to the cardiovascular disease.
The risk factors coronavirus are actually cardiovascular risk factors. Those with high cardiovascular risk are at risk of dying from in COVID-19 also.
What is the ideal level of vitamin D in the body? And also, do the people who have darker skin are more susceptible to low deficiency of vitamin
D? As everybody knows, sunlight leads to the production of vitamin D. How much sunlight is required? I mean, there is a lot of popular media says that this many hours. There is actually, these are unproven. Studies have shown that the amount of sunlight required is the amount of sunlight required to cause some erythema, some reddening of skin. You need to have a mild level of sunburn to produce enough vitamin D, whether it's 10 minutes or half an hour, that is immaterial. And once you have that erythema, you will produce enough vitamin D for 1 week. And in India, people are highly conscious about darkening of the skin on sunlight, and especially if you get that mild sunburn, you will get dark. So there is no way of getting vitamin D without risking getting dark. And we, with our darker skin, actually are protected from the effects of ultraviolet rays. And our dark skin is a very good sunscreen. So it has been found that even Indians, even those working in the fields, laborers, they also have vitamin D. That was surprising because they expose the sun whole day and still have vitamin D. And only the populations which are not having vitamin D deficiency are people who take lots of fish, oily fish. Oily fish like sardines, etc., are the only real source of dietary vitamin D. So if you are a vegetarian or if you don't eat a lot of fish, then we have to take supplementary vitamin D. And otherwise we'll be deficient. And so much so nowadays, many people have stopped testing people for vitamin D. You take some vitamin D for some time and then you test to see whether your intake is adequate. If your vitamin D levels are high, you decrease your intake because different people may need different amounts of vitamin D to maintain a normal value. And even the normal value of vitamin D is still controversial. There is no consensus on how much vitamin D is required. So you have different normal values from different labs. That is because nobody has agreed on this. And we don't know whether too much of vitamin D can do harm. So normal values, maybe 10 years ago, the normal value is concerned 9 nanogram. Then it became 25. Now some people say 30. Probably you must target about 50.
Okay, so now it is lockdown, so people can't go and get themselves checked whether they have enough vitamin D level in the blood or body. So how should one identify that that he or she is deficient in vitamin D, and then what should one do to address it?
If you do not have if you have symptoms of vitamin D, the commonest symptoms of vitamin D deficiency will be aches and pains, all our pains. That's and if you have aches and pains which improve with taking vitamin D, you probably had vitamin D deficiency. And such people should actually test your alkaline phosphatase, which is a sign of osteomalacia. If you have osteomalacia, that means effects on the bone, then you may have to take higher dose of vitamin D for a longer period of time. I would say that if you don't have anything suggest your vitamin D deficiency, you just take some vitamin D supplementation. Don't take too much. Maybe you can take one sachet or capsule of vitamin D, 60,000 units, maybe once a month or once in 2 months. Most people will need that much. And then after some time, you can test for it. Or if you have not taken any vitamin D at all for some time, and you might be at risk of some deficiency, you have some symptoms, then you can take it weekly for several weeks, maybe 6 weeks. And then you continue taking it once a month.
So if we take vitamin D supplements as per your advice, so does that mean we are not going to contract coronavirus?
No. That is complete spec. We will have to do some randomized controlled trials to prove this hypothesis. Vitamin D has so many benefits, such as I said, cardiovascular risk, hypertension, and so there is no harm, and it does so many things. You will not do any harm by taking. That's why don't take too much. Higher dose of vitamin D it's still uncertain, but maintaining normal is a good thing. Low levels of vitamin D are certain to increase cardiovascular risk and possibly infection risk.
Thanks for talking with us.
Avoiding low value.
Thanks for talking with us, doctor.